Welcome to the Waves of Change podcast, where we aim to inspire the listener to awaken to their purpose and take the action required to live life on their own terms. My name is Darragh, confidence and mindset coach, speaker, entrepreneur and humanitarian. I will be sitting down with creators from all walks of life who grew through the waves of change in their lives to be making the impact in the world they are today. Dwayne, how are you, brother? This has been a long time in the making. We missed each other playing podcast tennis last year for a few months with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just been mental. Just what you're saying, it's just the club. It's just been absolutely mental. Over the last 2.5 years, it's just gone from strength to strength, which is obviously amazing. So it's just obviously trying to find the time to talk. We get an awful lot of interest in podcasts, and some people probably think we're being rude at times, but it's trying to the hardest part with the club is trying to balance, first of all, the job, working full time, then the club, then getting the program set up, and then find the time to talk about the club. So it's taken a while to juggle a few balls, but we're getting there.
Yeah, absolute legend. So for any listeners who are around the world that don't know Dwayne is the co-founder of Inner City Running Club. Excuse me. I won't go into your story, but Inner City Running Club. When was that born? When did you start that up?
Yeah, so it was during COVID 2020. I was laid off work in March, and look at that, I can't sit around. I'm too hyper. So I was getting out. I was running down the quays every morning. I was cycling out the sea point. I was doing sea dips, and then I just became so fit from all the training I was doing. It was either playing balcony bingo, drinking, or else training during lockdown. So I was just training throughout the whole lot of it, and then from that, I just seen a true sense of what training can do with people. And I knew there was nothing in the community like a run club or swimming or cycling or whatever it may be. So I just put a post out on Instagram, and the thing spread it quicker than COVID in the community because everybody was jumping on the bandwagon. And I believe we put out a video with the idea, and as soon as it got the reaction it got, I rang Karl, and I just said, look, I had to put a video out on Instagram about Run Club. I'm going to need to dig out this. He says, yeah, okay, let's go for it. And the first run, we had 36 members, and now we're currently standing 2.5 years later at 265 members.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Well done. What age are you right now, Dwayne, before we go back to the start of your story?
I'm 28 and I'm 29 in 3 weeks. So, yeah, getting old.
Just stop. I'm 37. I think I'm 38 this year, yeah. 38. But anyways, look at Dwayne is from the inner city, and only yesterday I launched Perse's podcast, who's also from the inner city. It's great. It fucking warms my heart so much to witness people from the inner city bringing new life, new ideas, and not just hope, but a new future to a lot of people. So fair play to you for that. I will come back though to the start of your story. What was life? Where did you grow up? What was life like for you growing up?
Yeah. So I grew up. When I was a new baby, I think from 1 to 2.5, I actually used to live in the south side. I used to live in York Street. My dad's from the south side, Mass, the north side, and then I moved back to the north side when I was about 3. So from then to now, I'm still living in Henrietta Street Flats, and it's where the club, where we have all our race days, all that kind of stuff. Life as a kid, I've no complaints, to be honest with you. I don't have, everyone kind of has a story or blah blah. In terms of, I was always anything I ever wanted, I got. The only thing probably was a bit of a broken family between your man and dad breaking up every now and again. But I think an awful lot of people has went through that. But in terms of my life, it was good. Like, I don't have any complaints. I don't have any massive things that has impacted my life. And I think that's very important to me and the club, because you hear of so many different people throughout their life. There's always a story, or there's always like an addiction, or there's always something that's happened that has led them to where they're going. For me, I don't have that. I just wanted to get people active in the community. And I love that there's no background in it. It's just more of just get people out, get them active. And it's obviously just went from strength to strength.
Brilliant. So it's more just of your own inspiration and your awareness to here's not a gap in the market, but here's a hole that can help support people, and you just decided to go ahead and make that video. So yeah, just quickly then, when you were so grown up in Henrietta Street and over the north side there, yeah, what were you up to as a kid? How were you in school and stuff like that?
I was, to be honest with you, as a kid, I was always involved in sports from a young age. Like we used to do boxing on a Monday, football training Tuesday, wrestling Thursday, whatever it was. I was always involved in sports. In terms of school, from what my ma tells me, I believe up until about first class, second class, I was a great kid in school, and then from that on, then I was a little bastard. I think my biggest thing is I don't have a diagnosis. I think I may have ADHD in terms of I'm always hype, I'm always doing something. I always had learning difficulties in school of focusing. I always say the attention span of a goldfish. I find it very hard to concentrate. So school was very tough. Teachers didn't really get me in sense of me hyperness and all these. I used to always sing in school and all that kind of stuff. They never got that, like, during class, or if I was in the middle of writing stuff, I was always like either singing or talking, but we still doing my work. But they never got that. And that kind of clashed with me in school. And then when I went to secondary, then they wanted to fuck me out of school then towards the end of me leaving cert. And the biggest thing that comes back from that is why the club is so successful and why I became very goal-driven was because 6 months before me leaving cert, they brought me into a meeting with the board of management, told me man to take me out of school because I was failing every subject. So from that, when someone tells me I can't do something, it's one of them. I'm gonna fucking prove you wrong. So I end up passing the leaving cert. I only got 80 points or something, the equivalent of 80 points. But when your man handed me the results, he goes, I don't know how you were pulling that off. But it was one of them things. That was my biggest turning point of self-belief. I think it was 17 at the time. I was one of them when someone tells me I can't do something, I go out and prove them wrong. And I've used that in the club, in the context of the club. I've had so many roadblocks over building the club, and so many things that I didn't know that like people didn't want to have a part of. And now I've got by them. And it was one of those mentalities of please don't tell me I can't do something because it's only going to drive me more. And last week I was given probably the toughest week involved I have in the club. I was given so many roadblocks of stuff that we're planning for 2024. And it's just had a light a massive fire in my belly because someone told me, no, it's not happening.
Brilliant. That's the worst. They should probably put you in the office for president. Or actually just swap yourself. Just swap yourself. You had the country all cleaned up in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, no, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's an incredible story. Fair play to you. Just in regards to school and this system, it's like a one size fits all. Can you tell us about what was mentally going on? Because it's a box learning. They've just got it's one way, and anything outside of that is either wrong. You're made to feel stupid. You're made to feel less than, and all of those things. So mentally, when grown adults, are trying to tell you that basically you're not good enough as you are, what sort of mental impacts did that have on you?
Yeah, like it did affect me in school. Now look, I'm not coming on saying I wasn't an angel. It's only now I realise I had learning difficulties, and it goes to show that my missus just be taught me sometimes, and she just want to bait the head on me because sometimes I just sound out. I just sound out, and I don't actually mean it. But like in school, like I always found like what I find is wrong in the inner city is people that come into the work in the schools in the inner city are not from the inner city. They don't get the kids. They don't get their upbringings. They don't get who they are. The people that has went through college, that has probably from the country, that has had a whole different experience in life. And then when they come into the school then and they put into a class of 25 head cases, they can't control it. They can't mentally engage themselves with people. So like for example, is I've launched a new wellbeing course through the club, and my biggest thing on it is engagement, knowing your audience, knowing your listeners, and engaging with them and working off their backgrounds. And I've learned that from my personal experiences through life, through job interviews, through everything. And it's a massive plus of why the club is so successful, because myself and Carl's personalities are very, very strong. It's very diverse. We can get along with so many different people. And it's why the club is successful, because we can bounce off different people and treat different people differently, because everyone is not the same. And that goes back to the thing, people being in school. The teachers don't understand that, like, everybody has problems, but they don't know how to challenge them or to control people in a classroom environment when they start messing. So instead of like kind of fixing the problem, it's like, get out to your tutor, get out to your year head, you're suspended. Like, I got to a stage in school, they were suspending me that much. I was telling them, like, this is like a 3-day holiday, because they didn't know what to do with me. And when I look back now, I was like, you know what, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that. But sometimes maybe they could have done stuff. You know, it has to be a balance between the student and the teacher. So for my last couple of years in school, it was difficult, but I'll always thank my ma and my dad for keeping me in school and not letting me leave, because that sense of achievement when someone tells you you're going to fail, that flipped my whole mind of thinking.
Yeah, brilliant. So many nuggets here, man. Fair play to you. I had a similar experience when I was going through my junior cert. I only said this on the podcast of Pierce. The maths teacher, I obviously turned into a cunt when I got into secondary school. And I used to be great at maths. I used to get 100% all the time all the way up in primary. But in secondary, I obviously mixing and messing and all of the things. But I had to argue with my maths teacher to be allowed to do ordinary level maths. And I was like, I don't want it. I think it's called for tech, is it? It's the lower level, whatever the foundation level. That's the one.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I'd rather have a go and fail than not have a go at all, you know. But that was the same thing. It was button heads. She's like, you're not going to, 2 weeks before the exam, she told me I'm not going to pass. But pass in the end by the skin of my teeth.
Great.
But anyways, something that you said there, and I think it's hugely valuable for everyone. It's the same for me doing this work. For me, I could never sit with a counsellor or sit with somebody that is, you know, in a suit and they have a clipboard and all of those things, because they haven't lived my life. You know, and that's why I think it's hugely important for people like yourself and myself that have broken through these mental barriers or whatever roadblocks society has put in the way. But not only just do it, but to turn around and help others from our community to do it themselves, for themselves. So also coming back to you saying that you have ADHD. One of my mentors, a guy called Kerwin Ray, who has ADHD as well. And ADHD, he believes, there's a lot more qualities in that, because it's problem solving in quick succession, fast, and your brain is working hyperactive. Like you said, someone tells me I won't be able to do something. What's the next thing you're going to do from there?
Yeah, I'm going to do it, you know. And this is it. Like, it's only mad now. Like, as I said, I was never diagnosed with ADHD. But even like for the club, like, people obviously look at the club and say, Jesus, so much happened to the club. There's so many ideas. That's because my brain doesn't stop. It's like a fucking hamster in there. It's just spinning. And it's funny because I never get to take in sometimes of what's happening in the club, because I'm always planning the next thing while that thing is happening. And it's not a bad thing, because it's had to obviously working out. And it was only recently like that I set back. I took 2 days off work. It was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And I was in a cafe, and I just sat there and I was like, fucking hell. Just looking back on Instagram, looking after all the stuff, and we were going to Birmingham, and I'll go in and speak to you about that now in a few. But it was just one of those things like, Jesus Christ, look how far they're coming. But it took me over maybe 2.5 years to realise the growth of the club, what has actually happened. And it's like everything has just went by so quick.
Again, it's incredible. I've obviously been following the story for a long time. What you're setting up in there as well, it's a testament to you and Karl. But you're not just waiting and training for other marathons. You're going across Europe to I think it was Rome. I've seen this in a few, but you're making your own marathons from around the flats. what is it like to create them, and what is the buzz like on the day of them?
It's mad there. Yeah, we've done Rome, we've done Barcelona. I'm heading to Madrid now in a few weeks. So what it's like, honestly, in terms of that, is it's like everyone going on a holiday, but we're running. It's like the summer project going away. That's what we keep referring to. It's literally like, yeah, it's like the summer project, and like it's unbelievable. The buzz is great, but the events from the flats are they're honestly they're outrageous. And what I didn't realize is, to have an idea, right? I use the club as, say, a massive bowler, right? And you drop it into the ocean, and it has a massive ripple effect. You don't understand how many ripples it has. And what I've noticed is in the club, right? From an idea that we have had in terms of setting the club up, right, was getting people out, getting them active. Then you don't realise people are going through depression, anxiety, all this kind of stuff. But the massive thing what happened in the flats was, you're not only affecting people running, you're not affecting people that has mental problems. You're getting the people of the community of Henrietta Street Flats involved in the club, because they come out on the events, they help wash the flats, they help sweep the flats, they help with all the sandwiches, the coffee, so they feel involved. So you're not only just touching the running club, the running members, you're touching the community outside that wants to be involved in what's going on, because it's such a positive. So they were things that, and as I said, I sat down in the coffee shop and was like, Jesus, you don't realize that the inner city running club, how many people it's actually touching outside of running. And that's a big plus, because it's great to bring a community back together again.
Yeah, man, that definitely needs it as well. There's been a lot of ups and downs and roller coasters in that community as well. And it's really over the last few years. What's really interesting, I have a client in Melbourne, Australia, going through shit with his wife. They did have two kids at the time. He was 6 months pregnant. Anyways, he was drinking too much, all the rest of it, and he signed up with me, joined the marathon, stopped drinking alcohol, decided to set up a charity to refloor his kids' creche, the floor in the school. But he signed up 18 of his mates, work colleagues, and his mates, people who work for him. And then when the more people that heard what was happening, exactly what you said, the people that worked in the creche, the husbands wanted to get involved. Then the mothers are like, oh, we'll make the sandwiches and whatever, we'll be at the finish line. By the time the fucking marathon went, it was on the news and everything. It was all over the radio.
It's amazing. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So the ripple effect, again, coming back to that, how far it reaches.
No, it's great. It really is great. And the events, the whole ethos behind the club, Darragh, is just having fun. We're not your ordinary running club. Me and Karl's not going to train Olympians. It's not going to happen. It's not. And like we don't want to have the elite. We love the L ones that come out. They'll kill me for saying this, but we love the L ones that come out, that have the crack, that wind us up, that inner city person that loves the banter. And that's what the club thrives on. And when it comes to race days, we get everyone to the starting line. We have a great bit of crack. We get them all singing and dancing before they go off, because when you come to a race, everyone gets a little bit nervous. So what we try and do is we try and shake the nerves at the start of the race, and then at the end of it, then you can see the difference in the person. So our race days are different, and I will be honest with you, I believe anyways, and I always wear my heart on my sleeve, I believe we've blown up the running scene, and we've changed it in terms of what we're doing. And it's great, because everyone, from years ago, we looked at runners, I'd be like, geez, you'd be so serious being an athlete or an athletic or anyone that's involved in that. But now there's COVID has obviously spurred it on as well. There's a new outlook on running. And we created a video. It was like the John Lewis ad we made it. And it was like, we got a couple of our runners to say, I am a runner. And it was to show the diversity of the club, that it doesn't matter who you are. It was just to show the diversity of who's in the club, from people that was working doing x-rays, to a builder, to someone that was bringing their kids to school, someone that was working in the shop, someone that was working for a governing building, wherever it may was. There was so many diverse people in the club, and it was to show people that coming through to the club is, it doesn't matter who you are. If you run once or twice a week, you are a runner, because social media has a massive impact on people, and they look up to these people like, oh, I'm not a runner because I don't run as fast as them. And we're trying to show them through where club is. Once you run, regardless of your pace, your time, or your distance, you are a runner.
That's fucking such a wise man. such a wise mind on young shoulders again. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible, and it's also inclusive, especially with the divisiveness of what social media has brought these days. It's incredible that you use the power of it to your advantage. And what was the reaction? I think I've seen that video. I'm pretty sure I've
Yeah, it
seen
was
it.
good. It's gone down well. Obviously we're trying to build a club, and like the club one day is going to be a business. Please God. So we're trying to market it as the best as we can. And people say, well, we're a business because when you put so much into something, when you really want to do what you believe in, I want that to be my full-time job. I want to be doing that full-time. So it's trying to build a club, but it's trying to make a stamp on who we are, what we're about, and we're never going to change that. It's all about getting out, getting active, having fun. And you'll see on the club's pages, it's a community-based run club set up during COVID, and it's achieving goals while having fun. And once we keep those core values of the club, it'll never ever change because that's what works for us. Do you know what I mean? So
Uh-huh.
the whole idea of the video was to let people know it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, if you're 50 stone, 10 stone, it doesn't matter. Whatever background you have, wherever your life is, it doesn't matter who you are. If you run, you're a runner. And if you become an inner city running club member, you'll always be an inner city running club member, regardless of if you come once a week, once every 6 weeks, or once a year. Do you know what I mean? The way we say that the club is a revolving door. It's a drop-in centre. You can come in and come out as much as you please.
Drop in Santa, I love it. And is that because I see a lot of familiar faces all the time? Is that something that happens regularly? You get people dropping in now.
Yeah, like running's not for everyone. Like so, for example, was when we put the Iron Runner video out, we had a campaign, a Kickstart program that was going to go in January. So it was like to show the diversity of the club, and obviously to say like if you want to get involved, you don't have to be the elite runner. And it obviously worked because we got 160 sign-ups from it. But that's why the memberships went so big as well. But it's one of those things that people can come and go. They might do a 6 week program and might not come back, but then you
Hmm.
might get a new batch of 6 week of another 6 week program. But we'll always have the core values of about 150 members, to 125 to 150 members. But it's funny, they might start with us for 6 weeks, leave it for 4 weeks, come back another 6 weeks. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's none of this like, where have you, we wind people up, where have you been for the last 4 weeks? I mean, on the gargle. And it's the little icebreaker when they come back. But we opened up a virtual option then as well, which has worked very well for us because certain people can't make it to the club due to the location and the times, but you want to be involved in the inner city running club. So then we opened up a virtual training plan for people. We had them in a WhatsApp group. So what happens is we put in the group the chat of a Sunday night, and that's the plan for the week. And if you can make the club sessions, well and good, but if not, you're still training. And then when they can make it, then they make it. So they're still involved. So it's still making people that can't make the club be involved in the club.
yeah, that's what like. It sounds like you have absolutely every angle covered. I need a shot of your brain for a few days.
Look, it's just when you're passionate about what you do, and obviously you're so
Mm.
successful. I'm really, really passionate, like on the club. I love it. Um, it's had its ups, have its downs. Every day is not a great day. Um, has it disrupted certain things in my life? My relationship, yes, myself had arguments over it because it was so new and I was pumping so much energy into it. Like the hardest part of the club is, as I said, is the balance. So working 9 to 5 in the job, doing my own training, create the training plans, getting out 3 times a week with the club. Now I love it. I never see the club as a chore or something that you have to
Yeah,
do. I
yeah,
do it because I love it. Carl is the exact same as well. And the members, they don't feel like it's a chore. They love being there. So it's trying to have the overall balance of the club. And finally now, like everything takes time. So now we kind of have the niche on it and like, right, this is where we are, this is where we need to go. So then last week we only took on another 4 new coaches to give us a dig out because there's so many people in the club. The last thing you want is certain people not feeling like they're getting enough attention. And it's very, very hard because there's so many members in the club. It's hard to look after everybody. And one thing I learned over time in life, you're never going to keep everyone happy. So that was
mm,
one thing that we put a stamp on. We're not going to keep everyone happy. We're going to get bad feedback, but it's what we do when we get that bad feedback. So all the events we've ran to date, the weekend was the best event we've ever done. Nothing went wrong, but it took us all the events previously to get it right. So every event we learned something new, and the weekend, thanks be to Jesus, went according to plan. So it's all about making mistakes and learning there.
They say your biggest lesson is your last mistake, isn't it? So keep growing. Simple as that. And one, if you're making mistakes, it means you're trying. So fucking definitely keep going doing that. So what does it entail? Like a week in the running club, what does that entail?
So we run Monday night at 6:30 from the Grange Gorman. So Monday and Wednesday is 6:30 from the Grange Gorman. And then on the Saturdays, then we either run from Phoenix Park, from Taafe, the Gorman, wherever it is. We obviously try and mix up the locations on the weekend. And the reason being is because we always like to go to a coffee shop after the run and have a coffee, have a cake, wherever it may be. So depending on the training plans we're doing and the distance we're covering, it'll always be Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And then what will happen is now, because we're training for the Madrid Marathon, it'll go Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday after Paddy's Day. And that's to keep everybody off the garden until we do the marathon in Madrid.
Paddy's Day is it's not the day, it's the day after my wedding, not the day after, 2 days after my wedding in March.
Great.
But yeah, fair play to you. And in regards to business, and I was actually surprised when you told me you still had a full-time job. You have, in my opinion, every right. If you do what you love for a living, you won't actually work a day in your life. And I'm testament to that. That's my experience.
Yeah, like it's. I've said we've been on radio, we've been on television, been on podcasts, and I've said it over the last 2.5 years. The reason I'm still in the job is to get a house, and 2.5 years later, I still haven't got it. And it's a massive. And look at when I realised I was never going to play football professionally because I was shy. The next big thing was the next big thing for me was living in the flats all my life. I sit with my dinner on my lap every day. You know, I still live in my ma's. So my biggest thing was I wanted to own my own house. I wanted to have my own big kitchen, my back garden. I wanted to have an upstairs. That was one of my biggest goals in life, and it still is. And it hasn't happened. And I was only speaking to lads about it the other day. I still have a thing in my wallet from The Secret. You know The Secret, the book?
Yeah, saved my life.
Yeah, so that's a check. You know, you ever see when you can print out the check online. I know I have an amount wrote down on that I still have in my wallet that I still look at. And it's a deposit for the mortgage. So at the moment now, we're taking steps. We're speaking to a mortgage advisor. We're going through the nitty gritty bits, and hopefully by the end of the year, we could be in a position now that the mortgage is approved or we draw down on the house. But that's the only thing keeping me to the job. Other than that, we'd be gone. And the reason why we haven't been selfish and just says, look, I'm going out is because my Mrs. Maria, she's putting up an awful lot of shit over the last 2.5 years at the club. As well. So it's trying to keep everyone happy. It's trying to keep the balance of everything. And to me, it's the biggest difficulty. And over the last couple of weeks, I'm in work now. I'm grateful that I have a job, but I know 8 hours a day I'm sitting here is 8 hours a day that I'm wasting of my life. I'm wasting away. So it's just fucking, if there's a God up there, as they say, I just need to get the mortgage done, and then I can then go and pursue the club as a dream. Then, please God.
Yeah, legend. Fair play to whoever you're working for as well. To have these fucking interviews.
Look, man, Jerry is the boss. We work for a company called ASAP Couriers. We're a courier company in Dublin, and he's been unbelievable with me. Over the last while, like the same thing. I've been great for him. I've got so much business in from me drive, me passion, all that kind of stuff and in order to succeed. But now it's gone to a stage where he knows, I know, it's coming to an end. And the only thing that's keeping me here is the house.
The mortgage, yeah.
So I have a plan in place now, please God, and if everything works out, great. Or if not, then we'll have to kind of reshuffle the deck then, I suppose.
When it works out.
Yeah, when it works out.
Like you've always done so far. It's just a pivot, whatever you need to do to get over the next hurdle. And that's to say, impossible is nothing, as long as you don't give up. So, but I think this is a great topic because there's a lot of young men like yourself, not even young men. I've got friends who are in their 40s who can't get a house, can't get a home. what has that side of life been like? You're obviously saving for a mortgage for a few years.
It's like the savings doesn't bother me. Like money means nothing to me. Like I've done work with Sports Direct previously, and you were saying about money and all. I was like, money means nothing to me. Opportunities is more than money, and with opportunities comes money. So like the money element doesn't bother me, but like when you're getting older now and you want to start having kids and all, and that's the part that I start to think about now. Like if it's another year before we get a house, and I'll be 29, she'll be 28. When we start running into complications later in life and we start trying to have kids as you get older. So there are the stuff that mentally plays on your mind. Or, for example, is if I don't get a house in the next year, the next 2 years, am I still going to be in work? If I leave work, will that affect my relationship? So there are the mental things that's being going on. I haven't really spoke to anybody about that. Maria, my partner, obviously, yeah, but I haven't spoke to anyone other than yourself about that. And over the last couple of weeks, it's been a massive fucking. I feel like there's a clamped onto me in terms of like I can't break free because I have all these amazing ideas, I have this amazing plan, but I feel like I'm stuck to this chair, I'm stuck to this job until I get a house. So like that's very, very hard because like if you just get up and walk out, you'd be very, very successful. But in the background of that, you'd be very, very successful still living in your ma's box room.
Yes.
So it's tough in that sense.
Thank you very much for allowing us in and your vulnerability and being open, speaking your mind. Your real truth, especially for everyone who listens from the community or your running club teammates will be listening to this as well. For anyone, it's better to get it out and off your chest than keep it up and bottle it up. Because that clamp, that heaviness you're feeling on your head and your heart, it just gets worse. For I don't know if you drink and smoke or anything like that, but it turns people into, it drives them over the edge, whether it's going to the pub or it comes out as disease in the body. Too much stress, too much pressure. Stress is the biggest killer of anybody on the planet. So thank you for allowing us in on that. And just back in regards to the house, and what is it that's so hard if money is fine and you're earning? And why is it so hard to get a house now in Ireland?
Just like so, for example, even though it's a full-time job, she's a full-time job. We don't earn a massive amount. So it's trying to find. It's first of all, it's saving the amount that you need to get a deposit. So that's there. That's there now. Tipwood, we're so grateful on that. But now it's like, so where the fuck can you get a house for the price that you from what your combined salary is? So that's the problem. And then I'll be very honest with you, Darragh. Then you say to yourself, right, well, look at we have a baby, get the hap. Do you know what I mean? Or we get Maria pregnant and go down a different avenue. And I'm like, no, that's not the life I want. And people will probably say the fucking neck of him, but that's not what I want for my life. And as I says, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I know what I want in my life. I know nothing in life comes easy. And I've just agreed to myself now that if you want something, I know on the job now, I just have to stick it out. I just have that to be that little bit stubborn. And if I want everything to work the way I have it planned, getting the house is the most important part because for what I want for my life and my future, for what me and Maria speak about, a house at the moment is more important than the club becoming a full-time business. And that was probably one of the hardest things to accept. But sometimes she put it to me. It's plain and simple in terms of like, it wasn't about like breaking up or anything like that, but she just put it to me in a context where like, Jesus, no, you know what? She's right. All my life, my biggest goal was being a homeowner and having my own house. And then the club was only introduced in the last two and a half years. So you have to weigh up the balance and what's more important. But like someone says to me the other day, like if you go full time to the club and you pursue it as a business, do you think you'll make it work? That's not the problem. There's no doubt in my mind that I make it work. But it's more about having a house and then having the club and making it work.
Yeah, brilliant. And I love how you said that, man. With that mindset, there's only one outcome. Going back to the obstacles and all the barriers that get in the way. If you have that mindset, you're just going to move around whatever the next obstacle is. But also, there's a question here. for me is I know the house gives security and it will be a castle for your family. If whatever the system is down there is continuing to put that level of pressure and stress and all of those things on you, what becomes more important, your own happiness and your own inner peace, or chasing what seems like, I'm not saying don't go for the house, I want the house as well,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
just opening up different avenues here.
yeah. So I'm a firm believer of signing contracts with myself when I in my own mindset. So I've agreed now. We have agreed, me and Maria, um, we've agreed now that if we're going to apply for the mortgage, if it works out, fucking great. But if not, then it's time then to think of what I want to do. So it's giving it our best shot, giving it the best chance we can. And sometimes in life things don't work out. Like for example, we got engaged last September. I never wanted to be engaged, living in my ma's, because I always thought it was a manly thing, or I have my own house. But that goes back to reshuffling the deck. What was more important to me. And I always had that kind of attitude of like, geez, I don't want to get engaged in my ma's house. But when you grow, like when you spend so much time with someone, they say behind every good man there's a better woman. And that's the truth. She's made me rock over the last while. So it was like, do you know what? I'm gonna get engaged because I want to get engaged. So that was one of those things. So like for now is our focus is please God, go and get in a house. If that doesn't work, then as I said, I'll reshuffle the deck and I'll probably go down the avenue of just biting the bullet and going full time the club. I don't know how it works in Australia, if there's any listeners in Australia, but what happens is in Ireland, if you go self-employed, it takes you over 2 years to build up an agreement with the bank in terms of what they see coming in and coming out. But if you have a full-time job, it's only 6 months. So while all this is going on, you're saying to yourself, if you go full-time to club, it's going to take you another 2 years. So that's where the stress and the pressure comes from, because you're like 2 years still in your ma's. And don't get me wrong, like very lucky to live in my fucking ma's. But it's still another 2 years of looking and saying, right, geez, Dwayne, you won't be 31 then before you can get a gaff. Do you know what I mean? So, and I only says to me, my blade, only says to my blade, I don't want to have a kid living here. What you fucking mean? You don't want to have a kid living here? Do you know what I mean? She thought I was being a little cheeky cunt, but it's not. Like, what you imagined in your life having a house, please God, when we have kids and everything is great 100%. Bring the kids home to your own house, and that's how your life obviously starts. So there are things that I see in my mind. So, and it goes back to the clamp being on your chest. And so, as I say, I've agreed now. Let's pursue the mortgage. Let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, well, it wasn't meant to be. Let's move on to the next phase.
Make it happen. That's what I'll say to you.
Yeah.
Make it happen. You will make it happen by the end of the year. If you have that amount, I think in Australia it's called a tax return.
Okay.
You have to have the tax return. They don't even base it on your financial income. They base it on how much tax you paid at the end of the financial year. But yeah, it sounds like you have all the paperwork and just pursue fucking, if you need to move out a little bit, just go and get what you so desperately crave. It sounds like you've been wanting.
That's another hard thing as well. Yeah, that's another hard thing. Like when you grow up in the flats all your life, and obviously you know yourself, when you grow up in the flats, like to move to the sticks is not something that I'd like to do. That's people probably say, well, what the fuck does he want? But like to move out, I see it's gonna be. I'm gonna have to move out of town, but to move too far out, I think would be massive different life for me. I love the flats. I love my upbringing. It's why I'm successful. It's why I'm who I am. I was speaking to the guys the other day on the wellbeing talk that I've done. One of my biggest strengths is being streetwise. You can't teach that in college. It's a massive succession of why. Like even with Karl would say, being streetwise, you can't. No matter what amount of money you throw at any college course or PhD, you can't be taught that. And it's done me well to where I am now in life, because being streetwise is you're witty, you're a bit of crack. You know when you're not in a good situation. You know when to say no. You know when people not take the piss out of you. So it's one of those things. If we were to have kids, I'd love them to grow up in the flats, because I'd love them to get the upbringing that I got, because it didn't do me any wrong. And I understand them the similarities in people saying, well, Jesus, there's an awful lot of drugs and flats, an awful lot of this and an awful lot of that. But my man and dad did a good job raising me. So, you know what I mean? It's not all about that. It's, I know obviously in certain groups and I was obviously lucky enough not to be involved in certain groups, but it's one of those things. If we had to have kids, I'd love them to live in the flats. I'd love them to experience that. Now the flats have changed obviously better over years. But it was one thing I'm always proud of. I'm very, very proud of where I come from. And no one will ever take that away from me. I love being from the flats. I love being streetwise. And I love being from the inner city.
Yeah, man, it's so good to witness you like up speaking about the flats. I haven't lived in the flats in a long time. And it also sparked. I used to play rounders with your aunties in the flats. Yeah. I never forget the way she got banging the ball like straight. She was serving, and whoever hit it, like cracked her straight in the eye and messed the house. But they're the type of games, the own nearest to the wall. I used to kill each other over that. Yeah. Nearest to the wall. What else? All them games, rounders nearest to the wall, cutting footballs open, building them up with rocks and leaving them on the street and asking someone to kick them over to you.
Kick the ball back.
just being a little bollocks, But that, me and Perce had a conversation about this as well. You cannot, I've been across the world with many, many different friends from different networks, different areas, different parts of the world. And there's different levels of wisdom, and book smarts is great, but lived life experience and the stuff that what they would say as hugely traumatic, which is also traumatic, what was our normal. I figuring out how to navigate that, man. Still today.
The Perce's story is unbelievable. I was in the barbers the other day and I had a bit of crack with him. But Perce is from town, from Sharptree.
Yeah.
Look how good he's doing. He's doing unbelievable things. He's the nicest person. He hasn't got that really. People say boxers are cocky and they have to be and blah blah. Perce obviously believes in himself. But what a lad he is! Look what he's doing for inner city. And I always look at Perce and be like, you know what? It's fucking great because he's so subtly. He's a family man. There's nothing more, nothing less to him. You wouldn't look at Perce and say, oh, there's something behind him. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He is who he is. And I'm sure he'll be honest, he'll tell you as well. Being from South Street makes him who he is.
Exactly. That was, I don't know if you've heard the podcast.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet. Yeah, 100%. But I'm sure that's what he'll say. South Street made him who he is. And obviously the drive and the ambition to succeed. I'm sure came from living in South Street.
Yeah, and his upbringing and people he hung out with growing up as well. And that's it. It's a huge testament to the inner city. That's what we were sharing. There's not like you, him, Karl. Is Karl from the inner city?
Yeah, Karl's from Greek Street.
Greek Street.
So Karl didn't listen to Yeah. So, but it's crazy. People look at the inner city and they be like, "Oh, geez, the inner city." Look at all the sports stars. Look at all. There's so many There's so many positivity. Like Kelly Hartman's another one. Obviously, but there's so many massive positives to the inner city. And I said this on a radio show. I think it was 98 FM or something like that. I said, the club was only starting, and it was more along the lines of everybody looks down at the inner city, but everybody inspires to go to the likes in New York, LA. But there's so much bad happening in those areas, but they still inspire to go to them just because it's a big branded name or a big city. But in the heart of the inner city, the real core value of people in the inner city, and Karl nailed this. He calls them salt to the earth. That's exactly what the people are. If I had no milk, I could knock into the next door neighbor and say, "Wouldn't give us a bit of milk." Stuff like that. That's what the flats is all about. And for example, is if something goes wrong in town, or if someone's sick or a kid or everybody, that it forces people to come together to raise money or whatever it may be, So, and that's a massive plus. And we've seen that with the club. The community aspect of it is unbelievable, and it won't be matched. And I'll tell you a funny story that we're going to do a race now in 12th of March in Born-a-Breen and Meath. So I rang the fella. I said, "Look, we've about 25 runners going, but about 45 looking to come down and support." "Yeah, great." He said, "Look, can you get a double decker down or a bus?" He says, "We can't fit all the cars in." So we come down, the bus picks us up, double decker. It's like the summer project, everyone's singing, dancing, going down to the race. But we jumps off the bus, and all of these running clubs from down that way, Mead and all in around Leinster, wherever it may be, were looking at us like, who the fuck are these guys? These are getting a double decker. They look like they're coming out of the zoo. But in the space of 2 or 3 minutes, they had their gates up, and you know, like you were like, oh geez, not the gate in the like, but their own like personal barriers.
Yeah.
And then in the space of 2 or 3 minutes, Bush, they loved us. They knew who we were. They got us, and they loved our energy, and they loved who we were. But from that first initial judgment, who's these head cases getting off the bus singing and dancing, to then saying, you know what, these are actually nice people. And I always use that story because it's something that very stuck me with the club. People always judge us before they see us because we're from the inner city, because we're loud. And then in the space of a couple of minutes, the whole outlook on us completely changed, because one, we're there for the same reason, to have fun, to run, to get a medal. And it's nothing more or nothing less. It's just to get out and get active. And just because where we're from doesn't define who we are as people. If anything, it actually does define us, because, as Karl says, we're salt of the earth.
Yeah, so love it, man. The community spirit, you can't beat it, because that's what we are as humans. We all naturally want to support and help each other to thrive. It's all the other shit that divides.
Yeah.
But speaking of heroic stories, I noticed that you's always, I think as a kid, a little young fella, just taking him in a wheelchair and just the races. Kobe.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll be very honest with you. I don't think so. We never just referred to Kobe. There's Kobe and Corey. They're set of twins.
Right.
So Kobe, Kobe came to the club with his dad, right? So his dad is Jay. So Jay Devereaux, he owns Abbey Windows. He came to the club. And anyone that knows Jay, he's a very kind of shrewd character. He wouldn't really be very, very open as of yet until you really get to know him. And he introduced himself to the club and said, look, I'd like to get involved. I'd like to try a bit of fun. And from that then, he kept coming out on runs and he loved it. And it's only now when we look back and was like, he actually introduced himself to us, and you'd never really get that from him. And then from that then, he started bringing Colby. So when he was bringing Colby, then Corey came. But what happened was, when we done the marathons abroad, Jay was with us. And I can call actually the wife now, Janice was there as well. And he says, Jay, look, we'd love you to push Colby in a chair. Would you do? And he was thinking about it. So that's how the Colby situation came around.
You said
no,
that,
Janice. No, Janice. Yeah. So Colby's ma. And then from that, then he came down to a 5K fun run, and we pushed him in his normal wheelchair. And then what happened was, then from that, he loved it. Now, be very honest with you, from the waist down, Colby's enabled, you know. But I promise you one thing: the legs may not work fully, but see his heart. It makes up for his heart. You want to see this kid. The two boys, Corey and Colby, I've never met two kids with personalities the way they have them. The two of them are absolutely dynamite. And we were very, very lucky to be introduced to the two boys, because we got to share their story. We got to get involved in their story, about the hardship of the last few years. But running the Dublin Marathon with Colby was absolutely unbelievable. It was great for the family. It was great for Jay. So Jay said something to us: I can't bring Colby to boxing, to football.
Yeah,
I can't bring him to an actual sport. So we started bonding time together. And like, it makes you realise, if you don't know how lucky you are. And Jay said something to me as well. He says, there's obviously someone worse off than you. He says, but I love bringing Colby and Corey to the club. He says, because the lads love it. But when we pushed Colby in the chair for Dublin, it was very, very special. It really, really was, because the whole family got to come out. They got to experience it. Jay got to run a marathon with his son. And then towards the end of the race, as a video, we ended up taking Corey from the sidelines as well. So we got to finish. Myself, Jay, Lisa, Karl, Corey, and Colby came across the finish line in Dublin. And it was so, so special, like, you know. And that's another thing. You don't know the stories, the club, like, there's so much that goes on, but you don't realise, go back to the basics of the club. You don't know how many people it's actually touching, helping, or getting involved.
Yeah. The impact from the ripple. So I'm getting emotional there. Just listen to that story, man. That's incredible. Fair play to you. Fair play to Jay for reaching out in the first place. Jay looks like he's an integral part of the club now for the since
Ah,
I
yeah,
watched.
he's been unbelievable. He won't like me calling him this, but he's been a coach since the last while. He doesn't like to label himself as a coach, and I didn't like to label myself as a coach either, Darragh, to be very honest with you, because I don't have any running qualifications. But what I do have is real life experiences via running. So, that's
And
very
to be
important to the
honest,
club.
just to drop you in there, sorry for cutting you off. For me, that's a right value. Nothing against people who have qualifications in these things, but real life experience is the real
Yeah,
qualification.
yeah,
Passing that, like again, speaking of ripples, look at those two young
yeah,
boys' stories, the father, the
yeah,
family, and the community spirit that brings together. So it's like, it's the same for me, you know, it's like when people say, oh, this, that, and the other, like what? People base, I'm getting emotional even thinking and talking about this. People base a lot of things on Western's idea of a degree and Western college and Western, you know, people are told this is the way, and anything outside of that, you're not doing it right, so you're doing it
yeah,
wrong, and you shouldn't be doing it. But if you're qualified in your own mind and your own experience as a running coach, whether you like to call yourself it or not, um, and somebody tells you you shouldn't be doing that because you're not on paper a running coach, but
mm,
you're reaching and touching and impacting you and obviously everyone involved in the club is impacting so many people. So what are you going to tell somebody like yourself and everyone else involved in the club that they can't do something based on a piece of paper? Or are you
yeah,
going to let them
100%.
go and let their heart ripple into the community?
Yeah, it was the same when we took the new coaches on last week. Someone said, like, well, should we look outside the club? No, no, no. Keep everything within house. From the bottom, build it up. And that's to us the core values of the club is like for sponsors that's been with us since day one. We try and get them to get stuff from the club. If that makes sense to you. So keep the core sponsors from since day one,
That's
who's been with us since day
reinvestment.
one. Exactly. So for
That's like
example, is like
Jewish people do it.
yeah, 100%. And then when we took the new guys on, it was they were like, "Oh, coaches, yeah, everything that you've learned from us, but we want you to give that to the new guys. We want you to give it to the new guys, but with your own spin on it."
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
not about
100%.
it wasn't about sending people to become like a certified runner because, as I said, real life experience is very, very important. And it's like when I'm delivering the wellbeing talks, it's small changes for the better you. And the second point on it is real life expectations. It's nothing rather than getting a module built up or a folder of stuff from someone off the internet, whatever. It's real life expectations and real life experience. And that to me is more important because going back to the scenarios in school, I could never engage or I could never have that full focus to something that was irrelevant to me. But when something was
Yes.
put to me in a real life experience, that's when I latched on. That's when I really opened my mind and really was really sucked into what someone was telling me. But when it came to like something that was like, say, something about William Shakespeare, it was like it was non relevant to me. It was just like this is fucking boring.
Yeah, and I understand that. For other people, that's their dream. They love to decipher all that language. So I have a friend. He's from the inner city, and he's just become a doctorate in English literature and all of those things. But anyways, back to you and the school system, as you just mentioned. Um, what you just said there is really fucking important, and it ties into what I was just saying a few minutes ago. So you have the school system that's trying to squash your mind because you're obviously a very creative and analytical, and you can solve problems and come up with solutions really quickly. But you have a system that this is the way the system is, and because your brain doesn't fit into that system, these people that are trained with a system are telling you there's something wrong with you, telling your parents that there's something wrong with you. Not everybody gets to come out of school with the mindset that you have. You know, a lot of people come out with anxiety and stress and depression and fail at leaving cert because of
Mhm.
this. And that's it in a nutshell. You know, it's what I would wish is that the school teachers could open their mind a little bit because it's not just that one way. It's not just that one way. And even the way the school system works where everyone is you know, when you do your exams, you got your next person is 2 meters away, or somebody else is 2 meters. You're
Yeah,
way able to
yeah,
spread out. Have you
yeah. Of
ever
course.
done anything in the club that you didn't all get together and come up with
No,
solutions together?
everything is together, and going back to that, like, so what I was never taught in school was about projection when you finish school, where you wanted to go. It was obviously what you're passionate about, but there was no actual route or no actual proper plan in place to help a certain individual to go and achieve what it was always college, and fucking pisses
Mm.
me off now because it's always college, 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 college. College isn't for everybody. So when I finished school, I went to two Fosses, and I was getting 200 quid a week to go to Foss. First course I done was woodwork. No, sorry, apologies. I went to college to do performing arts, and I left after 12 weeks because it just wasn't for me. And then from that, then I went to two Fosses, and then I done woodwork and cooking, and I was like, I was just floating through life, to be honest with you. And that's being
Yeah.
very honest with you. I was just floating through life. And then I heard about a football course in Irishtown, the FEI running, and I applied for that and I got it. And that's what kind of changed me. I got all these fitness qualifications, became a lifeguard, soccer coaching, I became a fitness instructor. And that's what kind of led me to where the club is now. Karl has the exact same qualification as well. So it's not like that we're just two lads from town that has the heart, or just to get everyone together. We know what we're doing as well.
Mm.
It's funny, like, people always ask about the club. I personally think now, if we wrote a book on the club, people would buy it because there's so many interesting stories that has happened over the last 2.5 years that it's very hard to tell them all at once.
Mm.
But there's so much that we have as now called coaches to give back in terms of our knowledge. So like certified in anatomy physiology, nutrition. So we have those certifications. So it's not like that we're just, even though we
Just,
have the certification, it's great, but we put our own spin on them.
yeah, yeah.
And it got like, so when we're explaining certain things, I'm very, very big on speaking to your listeners, knowing the people you speak to.
No, your
Don't be
audience,
using
yeah.
knowing your audience. And I went back to, I was speaking to the guys down in National College of Ireland, a live sports course they're called. And I was like, lads, when you're speaking to certain people, I know, for example, I can speak to you a certain way. But it's about having the professional element of you when you go into a different organization. You must be able to speak to a different crowd. And it goes back to the terms of personality, being an
Mm-hmm.
open book, being able to walk off different people. And I think that's another, and I keep going back to, that's the core value of why the club has been very, very successful, because I1 is anyone come to me and get on with anybody. And Carl's the very, very same. Now, I'm the real outgoing, real loud person. That's just who I am. Carl is the more subtle person. So that's why the diversity in that terms works so well, because I'd probably get to know the outgoing people more quicker than the subtle people because they cling to Carl. Does that make
Mm.
sense to you?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's good that you have that dynamic. You have different energies for different people. And again, that would be a huge benefit to the, you know, how the club has exploded. And just coming, like, is there any more stories like Kobe and what was the other kid? Kobe and
Cordy and
Corey.
Kobe and Cordy. Yeah, so
Kobe and Corey.
them
I
lads.
can
Then there's
imagine
like,
there's many, many more stories
yeah,
like with
like
similar.
there's a lady Mags, and she has a famous quote. So Mags is a girl that joined the clubs in the 5K program, Russ, and she struggled during the 5K program, but it's gas, a bit of consistency and discipline. A year later, she ran the Barcelona Marathon. Mags
How,
is between
how long
between
was that?
50 and 60. I won't say her exact age because she'll fucking force me. But she's between the ages of
I
50 and
love
60.
it.
And
So
she
look
did a
at that,
5K
59.
program, but she joined the club just to get involved with people.
Ah,
Just to get involved with people. And now she's met friends. Now she loves the club, and she has a quote. If you wanna join if you want to change your life, join a run club. If you want to change your body, join a gym. So from that quote itself, like, it's something in that context. But the
yeah,
message
no,
is
I
is
understand it,
the
yeah.
the running club has completely
It's a
changed our life. A
community.
gym, a gym will change your body, blah blah. But the run club, like, so the social element to the club is so important to us. Like, we try and have team nights out. If it's bowling, pizza, sea dips, like, for example, is, and one thing that always really, really strikes with me is, none of these people were involved in a club before. So me and Carla play football. We've seen player of the year, player of the year. So we have awards every year, which is very
Yeah.
important. And the awards are like runner of the year, runner's runner, club man of the year, club person of the year, wherever it may be. But you see some of these people getting awards, and you don't understand how much it means to them. And
Uh-huh.
they're the little moments that the little switch comes on the head and like, fucking hell. You really don't realise how much this is helping people. So that Mags is one person that got runner of the year that her story is very influential. Another story would be Michelle, a girl that joined the club. She was taking antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
And now a year and a half later, she doesn't take antidepressants. So her antidepressants now is running. So her
Brilliant.
whole thing is her whole element of the club now, and she's had to coming on leaps and bounds from it. So the club is her getaway. And then you have other people that just come that don't have stories, that don't have problems, that just want to get out and get
It's
active,
just,
love the bit of crack. And it's funny, we always revert back to this. People won't miss the club because they feel like they're gonna miss an episode of Coordination Street, they're gonna miss the Billy or the do you know what I
yes.
mean? We always wind people up about that. So
Yeah, I love
there is
it.
so many influential stories and so many positive stories. And Maria's dad would be one as well. Thomas is 64. He's a cancer survivor. So he was given like 8 weeks to live. That was like 8 years ago. And he only has one lung. He's running 5Ks, 10Ks. He's doing duathlons. He's had to change his
Fuck.
whole perspective in life. He doesn't drink as much anymore. He doesn't smoke fully, constantly doesn't smoke. Fully give up the smokes. He goes on these diets. And I said to him, I says, Thomas, Jesus, I met you 7 years ago. He says, you look 7 years younger now. So someone that has had cancer, that has now found the club, and is one of those things of like, it's a second chance of life for him. And then we had a young girl, Carly Mahadi, I'm sure you heard of her. She
Yeah,
came the
yeah, I was
weekend.
saying.
She done her first 5K the weekend. So that's another girl that had cancer, that has used social media in a very, very inspirational platform to showcase that getting cancer at such a young age, the effects it had on her. And the weekend she came to the race and done 5K. So
It's
mental.
incredible, man. It's absolutely amazing. And for everybody, it's what would you say to people who, because I'm sure a lot of people have these mental barriers and the worries about what people think and what I can't run 5K and X, Y, and Z. What would you say to people that are sitting on the fence, but they want to do it?
I go back to myself, personal experiences and real life expectations. I still to this day get abuse about the club. You know, people say when I put videos out, hey guys, you have to put the block up of what other people think.
Yeah,
And you have to put up it's a wall around you. Like, and for people that sit on the fence, don't think anything other than doing it for you. Don't think what other people think. Don't feel like, for one thing is we have such a big amount of members come to the club, and people get a little bit scared of that. And it's the
yeah,
same thing as the Born a Brain race. Once you come and you get to talk to the gang, you'll realise we're not bad people. Like,
uh-huh.
there's like there's none of this like, oh, there's a new member, oh fuck, here's a new member. Do you know what I mean? And it's funny, we only took on new members 6 weeks ago, and them new members now, we only got new members the other night. They're like going out, hiya, welcome to the club. I'm blah blah blah.
Ah,
I started a
yes,
couple
I
of weeks
love
ago.
it.
And that's one of those moments looking back and you're saying, fucking hell, that's great. So the hidden message is, if anyone's thinking about joining the club, don't think. Just come, get involved. It's either going to be for you or not for you, but you'll never know until you make the first step. Like, for example, when we put the video about the club, I was terrified. But
Uh-huh.
I, I put it out there. Look what I've done. It's paid off 2.5 years later. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the ripple is creating in many families, and it's also interesting what you're saying there about the numbers. Some people are afraid of the numbers. I'm sure after 5 minutes, the people who are afraid of the numbers get to see why there's so many numbers there because of the crack and the coronation street aspect of it, as you said. But every time I fucking flick through social media, you're on the news, you're on RTE or not RTE or Today
Yeah,
FM or
you're up.
something like that, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
in
yeah.
colleges and all of that type of stuff. Man, what is that like for you as a young kid? Well,
Yeah,
as
it's
a
like
young
it's
fella.
good. Like it's like obviously I work in sales, so I'm driven to drive the club. And how can I make so many people understand about the club? So I contact all the radio stations. I contact Ireland AM. I contact all these people,
Oh,
all the
you reach
newspapers.
out to them. I love it.
And but because sometimes when people don't know about it, what happened was that when I first started reaching out to these people, it was like walking down a corridor. All these doors started to open up, and then people started to hear about the Inner City Running Club. So when I first started contacting all of them, what has happened now a year later, they contact us. So and it's about putting yourself out there, and the same way goes back to people that think about joining the club and they're afraid. I was afraid of contacting these radio channels. I was afraid of contacting the Ireland AM. I was afraid of contacting all of these people in case of, but I'm not afraid of rejection. I'm not afraid of being told no, because that happens in life, but it's what you do after that. And for a long time, I've been told no by certain radio channels or certain newspapers, but then they come back, you know?
Yeah.
So it's letting people know about what you're doing and not being afraid to express on what you're doing. We've got so much publicity. I'm very, very grateful of it. But that didn't just come from, I did this in a city running club. I chased it. You have to chase it. And if you want to grow and develop and get people, like for me, what I found was everybody in Ireland now knows about the Inner City Running Club. We've now broke into the UK. And I'll go and speak about that now if you still have time. We've broken into the UK. And I done a wellbeing talk with the Department of Foreign Affairs. This was a mad eye-opener. We done a wellbeing talk with the Department of Foreign Affairs online to 90 people worldwide. People were coming in from Australia, America, China, all over Europe. And so then, in a sense, we broke the world. We broke into the world. So it's about getting the message out there to people that running can be a community thing. It's not about joining your local athletics club and being a high-performing athlete. Why not have the fun element of it? It's so important. And that was another thing. I want people to know about the Inner City Club all over the world, because it's what we're trying to do. And it's being very honest with you, we're building a brand. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're building a brand, we're building the club. Like when we go to Madrid, when we done Rome, we brought 15 runners. And I said it in a video, I'm very, very keen on manifestation and believing, seeing stuff before it happens. And Maria's always saying, she keeps saying, you just fucking keep seeing that house and then we'll get it, you know? But when we were in Rome, there was 15 of us there, and we were coming back to the airport, and we bring videographers with us everywhere we go to document everything, because we want to look back in a couple of years and showcase the growth of the club. And it was funny because we come back to the airport, and your man says to me, do you think we'll be back away next year? And I says, lads, mark my words, and I have the clip, I'll send it to you. And I says, there'll be 40 plus people in this airport next year. And it was crazy. We had 55 runners the following year running in Barcelona, but we took 120 members of the club to Barcelona. 55 ran the marathon, and the rest was there supporting. So that was a year later. And now we're going to Madrid, and I think there's over 130 people now coming with us at the moment to Madrid, which is outrageous, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. So it's that runners or is that combined again?
So what happened was we understand.
Yeah, answer that, go first.
Yeah, so what we understood was not everybody wants to run a marathon. And early ethos of the club is, regardless if you run 2K, 3K, 4K, you're still a runner. So we said, how can we give these guys an experience of running abroad? So the best way was pick a race that does a marathon, half marathon, and 10K. So if 10K is your preferred choice, come away with us. Get the buzz, get in the gear on the flight, get the party atmosphere, do your 10K, get your medal, and then we'll all go for a few drinks after it. So that's where we picked Madrid, because there's a race series on. And there's 3 different distances. And that was to antagonise and invite more people into the club to run the distances, if it's only 10K, half marathon, or full marathon. And it's kind of broadening your horizons to keep everybody happy, to be very honest with you.
Fair play to you, man. You're such a wise man. Phenomenal. I think that's why the whole thing is so successful, is because it's so inclusive. No matter what you are, and it's I'm inspired here even speaking with you. Whether you run 2K, 5K, I don't even know what the marathons are. What's a half marathon and a marathon?
So the 10K, and there's a half marathon, which is 21K, then a full marathon is 42K. And because what we noticed in Barcelona was there was a good probably 60 people there supporting. easily we probably would have got at least 30 of them representing the club in a half marathon or the rest in a 10K. Because it's important when we all go away, everybody has the same feeling. And get the most important thing is getting the medal around, completion. And it was gas when we done Barcelona. Because what we do, Darragh, is when we go away, right, we all get I give them all sponsor cards. And I say, well, look, you must bring in X amount of money. And that money goes towards the gear.
Mm-hmm.
So we always go away with and it's always looking professional, looking the part. And even though the club is all kind of like community element, we still run it as a professional, as a business, because that's the trajectory of where it's going. And so what we do is you get in the most amount of money we can, and we order gear. We organise buses to and from the transport of the hotel back to the airport. And then when there's money left over in the kitty, then we use it then for a couple of gargles. So what happened in Barcelona was I was fucking this is unbelievable. We had a good few quid left over in the kitty from Barcelona. So we ended up hiring out our own nightclub in Barcelona.
Fuck's sake!
So this is after the marathon. We brought Niall Regan. He was running the marathon. And we had Niall on the decks. So we had our own DJ, our own nightclub. The whole nightclub was boxed off just for us. And it was just outrageous. But it's and that's it. It's the extra little ideas to make the trip much better, to make the buzz. And these things, like for example, going back to collecting our race packs in the expo, there was a Red Bull DJ stand. We stuck Niall up on the fucking DJ stand. So Niall is up there spinning the decks, and we're all down there raving and dancing. And everybody in the expo is looking at us and saying, "Who's these mad bastards?" But we didn't care. Like,
I love it, man. Well done. And again, just coming back to that, it sounds like it's the main core values, the inclusiveness of the whole club, that everybody has a role to play, no matter how big or small. So fair play to you, Karl, and everyone else that's involved in the club that helps create that and make it a reality. What is the future looking like for the club?
Yeah, the future is very interesting, Darragh. Hopefully by the time this goes out and things go according to plan. So I've been personally working with Sports Direct and trying to interlink the club to get people in the club to get opportunities. So we've done a race series of Sports Direct, then they invited us down to do a beat the quit night. So the whole club was involved in that. We were contacted by Brooks, and I was in Birmingham in January. We went over, and myself and Maria were invited over to it was a run festival weekend, and I was doing a presentation on the club and how important it is to have the community. So it was gas from an idea that I had. I'm now standing in front of a shoe manufacturer delivering a presentation on how the club has went from 0 to 100. And then we're being offered a contract with Brooks now for 2023 partnership. So please God, by the time this goes out, the contract will be signed. There's no financial gain to the club, but it's just helping the members with the likes of runners, all that kind of stuff. So it's a foot in the door with those guys, and then in the background of that, then Sports Direct then are looking to get involved with the club now through myself. It was funny. It was like 5 days. It was 5 days we were away for. So we went on the Friday to the Sunday. We were in Birmingham, and that was with the whole Brooks team. And then from that then, we went down to London, and another girl from the club was selected, and we were brought to a photo shoot in London with Sports Direct. Now that won't be released now until the 23rd of March. So it was a spring campaign. But I was like, "Are you sure you want me to go across and do this photo shoot?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Look, I have the face for a radio. Are you sure you want me?" But their whole element was, "We don't want model material." I was like, "Oh, well, so now you're in the classifying me that I'm not model." But it was more along the lines of
rocking a hard place.
They wanted real people. So we're getting amazing exposure from these people, and it's not being cocky, and I'm really not a cocky person, but they see how good the club is. They see what the fundamentals are, and now they look at the help. Like, we don't get help from the DCC. Everything the club has is because of our members. So it's great now to get the recognition from these guys. Brooks is a massive shoe manufacturer. Their net worth is over 2.5 billion globally. Sports Direct are massive in UK and Ireland. So from signing with these guys now, please God, what'll happen is we're the break in UK and Ireland, and once we go with Brooks, that then most certainly puts us on the world market now because they're the world's world brand of a shoe manufacturer. So hopefully, and that's the trajectory of that. And then what we're trying to do then, back keeping ourselves grounded, then we're trying to get a premises now for the members. So we don't have a premises. We want a place to call home. So that's my biggest thing this year for the club, is to try and cement a place that we can call home, that we can call the Inner City Running Club, where we can go back after our runs and have coffees and chill out and all that kind of stuff. So so there's so much happening in the pipeline. There's other stuff happening that I can't just say. But I always like planning forward. It's done me well so far with the club. So I always try and like to plan ahead. But 2024 looks like it could be the biggest year for us in terms of where the club is going to go. And let's just say the NSC is going to explode, please God, in 2024.
Man, I cannot wait. I for one cannot wait. How excited are you for that?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like it's, I can't get too excited yet, Darragh, because I'm one of those people. I won't get excited until things are done. And I'm not talking about signing contracts. Signing contracts means nothing to me because everyone can put a name on a piece of paper, but it's what happens after you put the name on a piece of paper. Can we meet what's on the contract, and can we pull it off? They're the most important things for me, because it's great. It's great having the attention. Everyone, McGregor, I love Dwayne McGregor is as a sports person. I love his philosophy and his drive and all that kind of stuff. But he says this thing: if you can see it, but you have the courage to speak it. I love that quote because that's me. I see stuff and I'm not afraid to speak it. And the same with these things that's planned for 2024. It's great just to speak about it, but I do want to make it happen. That's important to me. It's great having the ideas, but it's more about making the things happen. So that's why I'm excited, but I'm trying to keep myself grounded until it happens. And please God, my ears turn, I'm talking to you like, well, that happened. But I'm sure I'll say to you, well, we have something else planned now, you know?
Yeah, let's go around too. And that's the thing as well, coming back to Connor's quote and your own quote as well, it's like, it's not only seeing it in your mind and speaking it into existence, it's also being brave and having the courage enough to own what you're seeing and telling people who don't, because it's other people's fear based on their own stories of their program that they can't achieve the thing that is stopping them from doing it. So they're not judging you from a place of you can't do it. They're really judging themselves because they can't do it. But part of the reason that saying in that quote, or not just that, but putting that whole thing into action, is people witness it. So when people witness it, when you say it to them, you've now got to honor your own word, not only to yourself, but they're going to see. Because if you fail, who's the first person that's going to say it? The people who laughed at you when they said you couldn't do it in the first place.
Yeah, because I love when people tell me I can't do something. I really do, because it does spur me on. And people say, well, your life shouldn't be built around when someone doesn't tell you no. But it's not about that. It's the satisfaction of completion. And that's what it's all about. It's all about completion. And now that we're getting these opportunities from these companies, which is absolutely amazing, but I wouldn't be in those positions to go and be talking about signing contracts or doing stuff and what's planned unless we had the members. And hopefully the members, when this is out, I just want you to understand, you just don't understand how important you are. You don't understand how important members and key people you are in terms of building us to where we need to be. It's great me having all these ideas. Great Karl being there. It's great Jay being there. It's great Darragh being there. And working as a team. But without the members, the club doesn't go. Yes, it's great having the drive and the passion. But without those guys turning up every week, giving everything, we wouldn't be in this position. So everything that's coming is for the members. And I did make it clear, if I'm winning, the members will be winning. And now what's happened is we're starting to get, some of the members are starting to get contacted now in terms of doing stuff for these companies. So that's the members getting paid now. That's that's very important, because I don't want it to all be about me, Darragh. Like, I have the club now where I want it. And I said it to Karl the other night, and I said to the guys when we sat down, we made them the coders. The club is now where it needs to be. me and Karl have been all over the radios, newspaper, all that kind of stuff. But now let's get the members out there. Let's get them the piece of the cake, because there's enough piece of the cake for everybody. So now let's get the members doing all these things like getting free runners, or getting paid to do runs, or getting paid to do this with these companies, and that's very, very important. And I go back to it, when everything that the club has today, it was through manifestation. It was through believing where the club can go. And the members now start to see that, I believe. And I said it to him, I have this phrase, nobody knows who's watching. Your man in Brooks told me he was watching the club for 8 months. So that's 8 months of him watching the club. And it goes, if anyone is listening to this, it's very important that when you're doing something, always remain professional. There's always going to be people outside chatting, yapping, or whatever it may be. You have to have your tunnel vision on. And it's why we're getting these opportunities, because we've remained so professional. We're very good at what we do in terms of bringing fun and energy. We only done a video the other day, had a look at it, and we done a dance routine as a warm up, and that's over 32,000 views at the moment. And from that video, a couple of guys have been contacted and asked to do a few bits. So the whole idea of that is trying to showcase the members. And then what's happened is we're getting contacted now, and the guys are getting opportunities now to do a few bits now as well. So it's obviously working, you know.
Yeah, brilliant. I fucking feel like a member myself at this stage of the conversation.
Well, I tell you, if you're running, we'll get you a bit of gear sent across. I can send it through the job.
Yeah. But here, listen, it's been an absolute privilege, man. I could chat to you for all day, and I'm excited. I'll be fucking tuned into the club more than I was before. The future is bright, and what I'm sort of like the main domino or the main core value I'm seeing throughout this whole conversation, and you speaking about the ethos of the club, is inclusiveness, that everybody is equal and everyone's the same. And I think it's incredible what you're doing. I'm actually blown away.
It's a big thing. Leave your ego at the door. That's the biggest thing. Don't come. Just leave your ego at the door. Just have fun.
Exactly. And this is it, man. Everyone, life today is so serious. People make it so, not people, society makes it serious, and then people play along because everything is so busy, everything needs to get done. And that element, because it's the little children that's in us, when we have that joy, that laughter, that playfulness again, it's fun. As you're saying, you've got people from all walks of life, all different ages, different shapes, sizes, colours, and all of that, but they're all coming down for one reason, to have fun and be in the community.
Yeah, but it's mad. Before you go, some people come to the club and they have to weight in the world on their shoulders, and it's gas. What they don't realise is every member, when they get there, is taking a block off, and they don't realise it. But when that person gets there, the weight of the world on their shoulders, every member's taking a block off, and by the end of the run, that person's leaving a brand new person, and that's you can't buy that. You can't buy that, like.
You can't. I've been in these rooms. I've been doing this work for a long time now, what you're doing is priceless. It's way, way bigger than a fucking running club. So fair play to you, Karl, all the members, Jay, and everyone else involved. I have one more question for you before I let you go.
Go on.
The podcast, The Waves of Change. What does the waves of change mean to you?
Well, I'll go back to what I've already started. Darragh, and my dad explained this years ago. A ripple effect, a domino effect. I just feel like since we dropped the inner city running club into the ocean, the waves haven't stopped. All the opportunities, all of the learning curves, all of the setbacks. There's so much involved in the waves, and it's crazy that you asked that, because when the boulder dropped, when the club dropped into the ocean, it's either creating a tsunami, and the waves haven't stopped. All the opportunities, all the learning curves, all the members, all the ups, all the downs. So the answer what you're saying is the inner city running club are the waves of changes, because we're changing so many people's lives in the community, and it's probably catchy or probably weird, but it's the truth. We don't realise that since we dropped it in, since we dropped the inner city running club into the ocean, the amount of waves that has hit the people, the changes, the community, And I always go back to that. The core value of the club is community, and it's why we're so successful.
Legend. Again,
But
Dwayne.
just before you go,
Go for it.
I just want to say, congratulations. By the time you should be married, please God.
4-time lucky, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Please God.
Thank you. Yeah, now we're getting closer, but that's the list. Everything is up on the wall there.
Great, deadly.
So 4 weeks out, man. Flights are booked, accommodations booked for everybody. Everyone's coming. It's been cancelled three times. This is the third time lucky. So yeah, all the family will be over here.
Go and enjoy it.
Partying up. So yeah, and same to you, brother. I wish you all the best, and we'll stay in touch. I'll let you know and everything.
Stay in touch, Darragh. Thanks very much, man.
Good.
Have a good one.
Thank you for your time.
Bye.